Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening in. My name is Ravishankar Rao, and I'm a part of VMware IT, focusing on observability, analytics, and tools. In the next few minutes, I'm going to demonstrate how applications and the TKG containerized ecosystem both can be seamlessly monitored using Tanzu Observability. We're going to focus on three areas as well as the demo, so don't go anywhere. We'll look at what challenges we faced as an IT org prior to onboarding Tanzu Observability. Initially, we had a whole bunch of tools that did different things. For example, the storage monitoring tool gathered metrics only from the storage, and then we had a separate infrastructure, networking, etc. So, with multiple tools, the metrics were siloed, and the effect of having siloed metrics is that the correlation was limited or probably even non-existent. When correlation becomes a challenge, and when you have to look at metrics from different tools or different locations, it takes that much longer to not just identify but even isolate an issue, and hence the longer MTTI. And apart from this, what we were truly missing, and it probably was the game changer, was the ability to view the entire stack end to end, and that is where Tanzu Observability comes in. Apart from being able to collate metrics from different heterogeneous systems, it was not just correlation that was possible. We could actually pick and choose what key metrics that we wanted to correlate. A lot of customization that is made available within the platform. And with correlation, it took that much less time to not just identify an issue, but also to be able to isolate the issue within the stack. And with all the visualizations, we will see in the upcoming slides, as well as a demo, the functionality that Tanzu Observability provides. We're able to visualize the entire stack, not just from a bird's eye perspective, but also drill down and get to the bottom of the stack. This is a pretty detailed slide, so I'm not going to go through each of these aspects, but just to highlight what Tanzu Observability is capable of. Irrespective of where your application or service is deployed, it could be in a hybrid cloud environment, or it could be containerized. We could ingest those metrics in. Your stack could have different data stores or databases that might be required, or web servers. It could be running on different types of infrastructure, different types of OS. So OS level metrics, compute metrics, storage metrics, network metrics, whatever is required, whatever is that part of the application stack can be ingested into Tanzu Observability. We could, within the OS as well, look at certain the state of processes or ports, and from an external entity, and a kind of what we say is outside in monitoring. If you want to look at the availability of your web URLs, the web pages from different locations within the organization, we would capture availability as well as the response times. We will see, as again in the upcoming slides as well as in a demo, how singled as well as detailed views and how to distinguish between the two and what is the best fit. In this view, we have a bunch of widgets pertaining to a specific application, and the team wanted to look at the response, not just the response time, but the availability of the web page itself. So you have different web pages that are part of the application, and they wanted to be alert or be made aware if any of them were not available. So in terms of visual cues, since this image is all green, should any of the downstream components turn amber or red or even go down, we are able to immediately correlate. Perhaps a node the cluster is completely down, but the application is still running on that last node or a couple of nodes. As long as we don't see an impact, as long as it's available, we are still good. And we can focus on our efforts on fixing the downstream components. Apart from just the visual indicator, we could also look at the trend of the response time across various time frames. And again, going further down the stack, we could look at the cube demonstrators of the container ecosystem. We could look at different components of the cluster which service the application, the number of database nodes, whether all of them are up or not. I think you could also highlight here some of the worker nodes are down. This visual would change. Right now it's green, although there are 5 nodes, but should it drop down to 3 or less than 3, it would then turn red, indicating that there is a serious problem, or it could impact an upstream component. So a lot of visuals, visualization and widgets that are available that we could leverage within Tanzu Observability. Now, all along we saw this from an application owner standpoint, but now we shift our focus to the platform or the TKG, the container ecosystem. So from a container perspective, I want to look at how the ecosystem is behaving in respect to that particular application. So in the dropdown, I select the specific cluster and namespace pertaining to that particular application. And we see metrics only concerning to that application. Now, once I select that, I can actually drill down and pick even a specific node within that cluster. I can also look at it holistically. I just want to see for the application, how is my container ecosystem? Do I have to plan for additional capacity? How many nodes are active? How many are inactive? What is my memory utilization? Should I put in additional nodes? Should I get in more pods in? So I can make all these calls just by looking at these visuals. There are some more TKG KPIs that we could look at. The platform owner could look at the entire TKG or the entire container ecosystem. I want to see overall how many active nodes I have, how many nodes are down, what is my total memory utilization, how many pods do I have. I mean, these are numbers that are generally asked by either senior management, exec management, or you would have to report this on a daily basis. And all these are available just by looking at these dashboards. And when we have a more comprehensive view and I want to drill down and look at the same data for a particular application, then I can again look at the CPU or memory utilization. Basically, the compute utilization or the network utilization of the application, which impacts the TKG. And within the container ecosystem, I could again look down at the specific nodes that are part of the cluster and their metrics, things like CPU usage rate, etc. Now, both the views that we saw were kind of detail-oriented views focused on either the application or the TKG container ecosystem. What if I wanted a comprehensive single view, a single dashboard, the proverbial single-pane view? And this is how we have built for some of the applications. I've compressed some of the layers so that it's more evident. We are looking at the outside-in monitoring, the external aspect of the application. Are my web pages loading? What is the response time, etc. And I can move on all the way down to the stack. I have the web servers, I have the TKG metrics, as well as the database and a lot of other components. And the second one kind of highlights the response times from different locations of the same application. I could look at the dependent services that this particular application is dependent on. It could be Redis or it could be Apache. I could look at metrics show up on this very same dashboard. Moving further down, I have the TKG, the container KPIs within the same dashboard. Let's move on to a quick demo. So we're going to look at 3 views. In the first, this is again the TKG ecosystem. This is an overall view of the entire TKG ecosystem, and I'm going to filter it down to a specific application and namespace. And you can watch as the dashboard kind of comes alive. Now I'm looking at metrics pertaining to that particular application. I could drill down and even select a specific node within that cluster. All container ecosystem KPIs pertaining or aiding the application are visible over here. Let's move on to another view. This view is again of another application. It is hosted on one data center. So look at the KPIs. Again, is my source page available? What is the response time? And what is the trend of the response time? And also moving down the stack, I want to look at the status of the worker nodes, the database nodes, web server nodes, and other metrics of underlying components. I could also get alerted or highlighted if the number of nodes falls below a set threshold. Moving down, we also included things like whether you want to highlight a process has stopped running or a port that is not listening anymore. And we want to capture if there are any network packet drops, the state or status of certain processes. All these are captured within the same view. The third one, we have a more complex application where it is hosted. It's a hybrid deployment hosted on multiple sites. Again, the key metrics for the application, network level, the load balancer level metrics, and the TKG or the container ecosystem metrics, depending on where it is deployed. So although this application is deployed on two different locations, I could look at the stats in a single view. I could look at what are the components that are part of this entire application. And if I further want to look at detailed views, I can click them right from the same window. Okay, moving on, a few key takeaways. So we looked at how Tanzu Observability can be used to correlate metrics with the application or the container ecosystem. We also saw how it can provide visual cues, a lot of visualizations, functionality that is available in Tanzu Observability. The other aspect that we've covered in another topic is traces, where application instrumentation, basically application vitals or application intel metrics can be pushed into Tanzu Observability. All these boil down to one thing. It is so much more easier, so much more quicker that you can not just identify, but also isolate an incident, an issue before it turns into an incident. And all this help you overall to reduce the MTTI. In our case, in fact, in some cases, we were able to reduce it by almost 40%. Okay, since we are almost at the end of the session, just like to highlight how we've implemented Tanzu Observability. We have it segregated by the location. So we have proxies at the different locations and a load balancer sitting on top. So the metrics get sent to the load balancer. From there, it goes to the proxies. And that's about it. Thank you so much for listening in. Thank you.